I want to begin with something that surprises many people over the age of 60. If you've ever looked down at your ankles at the end of the day and noticed they seem puffy, tight, or swollen, your mind may have immediately jumped to one conclusion: something must be wrong with my heart. And while it's true that heart-related conditions can sometimes contribute to swelling, the reality is that many cases of ankle swelling in older adults have nothing to do with the heart at all. This misunderstanding is incredibly common. I've spoken with countless individuals who became worried the moment their shoes felt tighter or their socks started leaving deep marks around their ankles. They assumed the worst because that's what they've heard for years. Swollen ankles equal heart trouble. But the human body is far more complex than that, and swelling can happen for a variety of reasons. One of the most overlooked causes is a sluggish lymphatic system. Most people have heard about the heart, blood vessels, and circulation, but very few understand the role of the lymphatic system. Yet this network is responsible for helping move excess fluid away from your tissues and back into circulation. When it isn't working as efficiently as it once did, fluid can begin to collect in the lower parts of the body, especially around the ankles and feet. Think about what happens as we age. We tend to move less. We spend more time sitting. Our muscles don't contract as frequently or as forcefully as they did when we were younger. Those changes may seem minor, but they have a significant impact on how fluid moves through the body. The result can be swelling that develops gradually over months or years. Many people are surprised to learn that swelling caused by lymphatic congestion often follows a predictable pattern. It may be mild when you wake up in the morning and become more noticeable as the day goes on. You might notice your ankles look larger after a long car ride, several hours of sitting, or a day spent on your feet. Sometimes the skin feels tight, and sometimes pressing a finger into the swollen area leaves a temporary indentation. Now, none of this means you should ignore swelling. Persistent or sudden swelling should always be discussed with a healthcare professional, especially if it is accompanied by symptoms such as shortness of breath, chest discomfort, or significant pain. But understanding that swollen ankles are not automatically a sign of heart disease can be incredibly empowering. The truth is that many older adults spend years worrying about the wrong system. They focus entirely on the heart while overlooking the body's natural drainage network that may be contributing to the problem every single day. Once you understand this distinction, you can begin addressing the root cause rather than simply fearing the symptom. To understand why your ankles may be swelling, you first need to understand the system that most people never think about until something goes wrong. We talk endlessly about the heart. We discuss blood pressure, cholesterol, and circulation. But there is another network running throughout your body that is just as important when it comes to managing fluid balance, and that is your lymphatic system. I often describe the lymphatic system as the body's drainage and cleanup network. Every day, fluid naturally leaks out of tiny blood vessels and enters the tissues surrounding your cells. This is completely normal. The problem is that this fluid has to be collected and returned to circulation. If it isn't, it begins to accumulate, and that's where swelling starts to appear. The lymphatic system is responsible for collecting that excess fluid, along with cellular waste, proteins, and other substances that need to be transported away. It does this through a vast network of vessels and lymph nodes spread throughout the body. When this system is functioning efficiently, you hardly notice it. Your tissues stay balanced and fluid doesn't linger where it shouldn't. But here's the challenge. Unlike your cardiovascular system, which has the heart acting as a powerful pump, The lymphatic system doesn't have its own central pump. Instead, it relies heavily on movement. Every time your calf muscles contract while walking, every time you bend your ankles, every time you shift positions and engage your leg muscles, you're helping push lymphatic fluid upward against gravity. This becomes especially important after the age of 60. As we get older, our lifestyles often become less active. Maybe retirement means spending more time sitting. Maybe arthritis makes movement less comfortable. Maybe energy levels simply aren't what they used to be. Whatever the reason, reduced movement means less assistance for the lymphatic system. And when lymph flow slows down, fluid begins to collect in the areas most affected by gravity: the feet, ankles, and lower legs. Think about a stream of water flowing through a channel. When the water moves freely, everything stays clear. But if the flow slows down, debris begins to gather. The same principle applies to lymphatic circulation. A sluggish flow allows fluid to linger in tissues longer than it should. Many people assume that swelling is simply an unavoidable part of aging. In reality, aging itself is often only part of the story. The bigger issue is that the systems responsible for moving fluid become less efficient when they aren't regularly stimulated by movement. Hours spent sitting in a chair, watching television, reading, driving, or using a computer can all contribute to fluid pooling in the lower body. Gravity is relentless. Every day it pulls fluid downward. Your lymphatic system is constantly working against that force. When movement decreases, gravity begins to win the battle. What's fascinating is that even small amounts of regular muscle activity can dramatically improve lymphatic flow. The body was designed to move. It expects movement, it depends on movement. And when that movement disappears, the lymphatic system often pays the price. Understanding this hidden connection changes everything. Instead of viewing swollen ankles as an inevitable consequence of getting older, you begin to recognize them as a signal that your body's natural drainage system may simply need a little help. Now that you understand how the lymphatic system works and why it tends to slow down with age, the next question becomes obvious. What exactly is making the problem worse? The answer may surprise you because some of the biggest contributors to ankle swelling are not dramatic health issues. They're ordinary daily habits that most people never suspect. Let's start with one of the most common: sitting for long periods of time. Many adults over 60 spend several hours each day seated. Maybe it's watching television, reading, using a computer, driving, or simply relaxing. None of these activities seem harmful. In fact, they often feel well-deserved. But from the perspective of your lymphatic system, long periods of inactivity create the perfect conditions for fluid to accumulate. Remember, the lymphatic system relies on movement. Every time your calf muscles contract, they help push fluid upward. When those muscles remain still for hours, the pumping action slows dramatically. Gravity continues pulling fluid downward into the feet and ankles, but there isn't enough muscular activity to help move it back up. Over time, swelling begins to appear. Standing for long periods can create a similar problem. People often assume that being on their feet all day must be better than sitting. Yet, if you're standing relatively motionless, gravity is still working against you. Whether you're standing in the kitchen, waiting in line, or spending hours at a workbench, fluid can gradually pool in the lower legs if movement is limited. Another surprisingly common factor is restrictive clothing. Tight socks that leave deep marks around the ankles, elastic bands that compress certain areas of the leg, or footwear that limits natural circulation can all interfere with the smooth movement of fluid. While these items may seem harmless, they can contribute to congestion when combined with other risk factors. Then there's dehydration, which confuses many people. When individuals notice swelling, they sometimes decide to drink less water, believing that reducing fluid intake will solve the problem. In reality, the opposite can happen. Proper hydration helps maintain healthy circulation and supports the body's natural fluid management systems. When you're chronically dehydrated, the body may become less efficient at regulating fluid balance. Diet also plays an important role. Many processed foods contain large amounts of sodium. Excess sodium encourages the body to retain more water, increasing the likelihood of swelling. This doesn't mean you need to eliminate all salt from your diet, but it does mean paying attention to how much hidden sodium may be finding its way into your daily meals through packaged foods, canned soups, sauces, and restaurant dishes. What makes these habits particularly important is that they rarely occur in isolation. Someone may spend hours sitting, consume a high-sodium diet, drink too little water, and get very little physical activity throughout the day. Individually, each factor may have a modest effect. Together, they can create the perfect storm for lymphatic congestion and ankle swelling. The encouraging news is that these are not fixed problems. They are habits, and habits can be changed. Once you recognize the everyday behaviors that may be slowing your body's natural drainage system, you can begin making simple adjustments that support healthier fluid movement throughout the day. By now, we've uncovered something important. Swollen ankles are often not simply a consequence of aging, and they are not always a sign of heart trouble. In many cases, they are the result of sluggish lymphatic flow combined with everyday habits that allow fluid to collect in the lower legs. The good news is that if movement is part of the problem, movement can also be part of the solution. What I'm about to share is not a complicated workout. It doesn't require special equipment, expensive memberships, or an hour of your day. In fact, one of the most effective ways to encourage lymphatic drainage can be done in just 5 minutes. The reason this works comes back to a simple principle. Your calf muscles are often called the body's second heart. Every time they contract, they help push blood and lymphatic fluid upward against gravity. When those muscles remain inactive, fluid tends to settle. When they start working again, even gently, they help restore flow. The first movement is an ankle pump. While seated or lying comfortably, point your toes away from you and then pull them back toward your body. Move slowly and deliberately. This simple action activates muscles in the lower legs and begins encouraging fluid movement. Perform this for about 1 minute, focusing on smooth, controlled motions rather than speed. Next, make slow circles with your feet. Rotate them in one direction for several repetitions and then reverse direction. This movement engages multiple muscles around the ankles and lower legs while gently mobilizing joints that often become stiff with age. Many people notice their feet feel lighter and more relaxed after just a few rotations. After that, tighten and release your calf muscles repeatedly. You can do this while seated by pressing the balls of your feet into the floor and lifting your heels slightly. Hold the contraction briefly and then relax. This repeated squeezing action acts almost like a natural pump, helping move fluid that may have been lingering in the tissues. Then comes perhaps the most important step of all, a short walk. It doesn't have to be far. Even 2 or 3 minutes of walking around your home can make a meaningful difference. Walking activates the entire chain of muscles in the legs, creating a rhythmic pumping action that supports both circulation and lymphatic drainage. This is why many people notice their ankles feel less tight after they've been moving compared to after they've been sitting. What makes this routine so powerful is its simplicity. It works with the body's natural design rather than fighting against it. You're not forcing fluid out. You're helping the systems that already exist do the job they were meant to do. Consistency matters far more than intensity. 5 minutes every day will usually provide more benefit than a long workout performed once in a while. Some people find it helpful to do this routine first thing in the morning. Others prefer it after long periods of sitting or before bed. The exact timing matters less than making it a regular habit. Many individuals are amazed at how such a small daily practice can influence how their ankles feel over time. Less tightness, less heaviness, greater comfort when walking, and perhaps most importantly, a greater sense of control over something they once believed was inevitable. As we come to the end of this discussion, I want to leave you with perhaps the most important message of all. The goal is not simply to reduce ankle swelling for a day or two. The goal is to create an environment inside your body where healthy fluid movement becomes the norm rather than the exception. And that happens through small, consistent choices that support your lymphatic system every single day. One of the biggest mistakes people make is looking for a quick fix. They want one exercise, one supplement, or one secret remedy that will make the problem disappear overnight. But the body rarely works that way. Your lymphatic system responds best to habits, not miracles. The encouraging news is that those habits are often simple and completely within your control. Movement remains at the top of the list. You don't have to become a marathon runner or spend hours at the gym. In fact, regular gentle movement is often more beneficial than occasional intense exercise. Walking around the house, stretching during television commercials, taking short movement breaks every hour, and performing the 5-minute routine we discussed can all help keep fluid from stagnating in the lower legs. Hydration is another powerful tool that is often underestimated. Many older adults unintentionally drink less water than they need. Sometimes they're concerned about frequent trips to the bathroom. Sometimes they simply don't feel thirsty as often as they did when they were younger. Yet proper hydration helps support circulation, tissue health, and efficient fluid balance throughout the body. When your body has the water it needs, many systems function more effectively, including those responsible for managing excess fluid. Nutrition matters as well. A diet built around whole foods, vegetables, fruits, lean proteins, and healthy fats provides nutrients that support overall vascular and lymphatic health. At the same time, reducing reliance on highly processed foods can help lower excessive sodium intake, which may contribute to fluid retention. Small dietary improvements made consistently often produce better results than drastic changes that are difficult to maintain. It's also important to pay attention to your body's signals. While lymphatic congestion is a common cause of ankle swelling, not every case should be dismissed. If swelling appears suddenly, becomes severe, affects only one leg, or is accompanied by symptoms such as shortness of breath, chest discomfort, dizziness, or significant pain, medical evaluation is essential. The purpose of understanding the lymphatic system is not to ignore symptoms, but to better understand what may be contributing to them. What I find most inspiring is how often people regain confidence once they learn what's really happening. Instead of feeling helpless every time they see swelling around their ankles, they begin to recognize that their daily choices can influence the outcome. They stop seeing their body as something working against them and start seeing it as a system that responds to support and care. Aging does bring changes, but it does not mean surrendering to every discomfort that appears. Many of the challenges people accept as inevitable are actually opportunities to understand their bodies better and respond more effectively.